Welcome in to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, I mean always, he means always, she means always, they mean always, you mean always, an instant classic.
Danny Dog! Hi, JJJ.
We will see you on the flippity dippity. Oh yeah.
Okay, what is going on, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of Juggernaut Retro Reviews. This is episode number 40 of Juggernaut Retro Reviews. And with WrestleMania Backlash coming up this Sunday, I thought it'd be fitting that I do some Backlash reviews for you guys here. You know, I haven't done a retro review for a while. My last retro review I did was back at like the beginning of April. It was WrestleMania 18. So it's been a little while since I did a retro review. But you know, I always really liked the name. I always really liked the name of Backlash. You know, like I always liked that as a pay-per-view name. But I hate how they added the name I hate how they added WrestleMania in front of it. Like, I understand why they do that, but it's terrible. Like, I understand, like, saying, oh, it's the Backlash to WrestleMania. But instead they had to say, oh, WrestleMania Backlash. Like, it doesn't feel right. But, enough rambling on about that. Let's talk about this show. So, this show was held on April 27th, 2003, and it was in Massachusetts. I can't. Worcester, something Massachusetts. Sorry if I botched that name. But the attendance for the show was 10,000, and the buy rate for the show was 345,000. So I mean, not bad buy rate for the show. I mean, what was the WrestleMania 19 buy rate? It was a little less than the Mania. It was less than the Mania 19 buy rate, but yeah. I mean, on the show, you know, was headlining Goldberg and The Rock. You know, this was Goldberg's first ever, you know, WWE match, which, you know, was crazy to think about at this time. Because, you know, they probably could have got him during the Invasion angle, you know, back in, you know, 2001, you know, when WWE, or when Vince bought WCW. But, you know, he, of course, Goldberg, you know, just wanted to collect that Time Warner money, you know, go home and sit on his couch. I mean, you know, I don't blame him. I probably would have done the same thing, you know, take a break for a while. But no, this show wasn't bad. I mean, there were some good things on the show. And let's go ahead and talk about the first match on the show. So, we start off with a tag team match for the WWE Tag Team Championships. We got Team Angle, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas going up against Los Guerreros, Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero. I thought this was probably my favorite match of the night. Both teams worked really good together. Eddie Guerrero, you know, this really, during these like matches with you know, Team Angle and stuff, they really brought out the best of Eddie Guerrero. You know, like him playing possum a lot, like, and him, you know, kind of messing around with the referee and stuff. Like, he really brought out him true self. Like, he really showed what he could do. Yeah, you know, Team Angle, you know, they're really good, you know, amateur wrestlers in the ring. You know, they do really good stuff. And I thought this was a good match. And of course, you know, during the summer of, you know, during the summer of like 03, you know, they were having some great matches and stuff. And then, you know, Chavo Guerrero, he got injured, so then they had Tajiri take Chavo's spot. And like later on in the summer that year, Eddie Guerrero turned heel, which the fans, you know, they didn't really like that much. Like they still cheered Eddie anyway. Like his popularity went through the roof. Eddie went through the roof with his popularity. Like when they turned him heel, against like Tajiri when he like got suplex on when he got beat up on the like lowrider. But I mean, Chavo Guerrero, he tried the best that he could do, but I mean, it was okay. And then, of course, when Chavo came back, they had that feud between Chavo and Eddie. Saying, that's the reason why they lost, because it was because of Chavo. But yeah, I thought this was a pretty good match. I mean, we had a lot of cheating a lot of heel tactics from Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas during the match. The match ended like when Shelton Benjamin, he held the leg of, I think it was Chavo Guerrero. And the referee didn't see it happening. And Charlie Haas, got the pin while he, got the leverage over Chavo Guerrero here. So, I mean, it was a good opener. Probably, like I said, probably the best match of the night. And then the next match we had was Sean O'Haire going up against Rikishi. And, I thought this was kind of a squash match here, in my opinion. There wasn't really much to this. And also, Roddy Piper was in the corner of Sean O'Haire. And, I like that catchphrase that Sean O'Haire always said. He goes like, I'm not telling you something you don't already know. Or it was something like that. I always liked the catchphrase that Sean O'Haire did. It's like, I'm not telling you something you don't already know. So I thought that was kind of a little catchy there. He was a WCW guy. I really never saw much of Sean O'Haire. I mean, he wasn't in WWE for very long because, you know how Vince portrayed some of those WCW wrestlers. He didn't really, care for them much, and he probably didn't care for Sean O'Haire that much. But he was a pretty big dude, but like there was really nothing really about him. And of course, Roddy Piper, like I said, Roddy Piper was in the corner of Sean O'Haire. Roddy Piper returned at WrestleMania 19. Got himself involved in the angle with Hogan and McMahon. When he brought out a steel pipe during that match, helped McMahon win. But like I said, I mean, even though they paired Roddy Piper with Sean O'Haire, I mean, Sean O'Haire did not go much, and didn't really go anywhere in the WWE. But yeah, he basically got a quick win over Rikishi. I mean, Rikishi did get some revenge onto Roddy Piper by using the coconut over the head. But like I said, it was basically a glorified squash match. And then the next match we had was the tag team match for the World Tag Team Championships with Chef Morley as a special guest referee, aka Val Venus. So we had Kane and Rob Van Dam defending the titles against the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley. I thought this was a pretty decent match. It wasn't better than the opening tag team match, but it was good stuff here. I mean, I always like seeing the Dudley Boys. I always like seeing them in the ring. They're probably really one of my favorite tag teams. And seeing Kane and Rob Van Dam, quite an odd dynamic, but they really worked well as a tag team. And I feel like the tag team, or during wrestling during this time, was kind of hated on a little bit because people like the Dudleys still being there and like Kane and stuff like that. You had a lot of older wrestlers and like they weren't building a whole lot of stars at that time. Or that they were starting to look for their next generation of stars. And the tag team division, the tag team division was all right at this time. It just really wasn't like anything crazy. But Rob Van Dam, it seems like he was doing a lot of like ECW stuff and like his ECW character, and it seems like he like even broke character a little bit during this match. But the Dudley Boys, they even ended up turning on Chef Morley during the match. When because they had this whole thing like with Chef Morley, he wasn't working with Kane and Rob Van Dam. but Chef Morley wouldn't count the Dudley's pin, and he ate 3D during the match, and then Rob Van Dam went up for 5-star frog splash, got the 5-star frog splash. They retained the titles. So like I said, I thought it was a good match, decent match. So we kind of had a double turn in this match. So we had the Dudley Boys turn face. And also, going back to that first tag team match we had, with Los Guerreros, they actually took the titles with them. They stole titles like in the lowrider. Even though they didn't win the titles, they still took them anyway because that's what Los Guerreros does. I just wanted to mention that point there. But now moving on to the next match we have is the WWE Women's Championship. We had Jazz going up against Trish Stratus. During this time, these two women, they went at it quite a bit. They went at it quite a bit. And there was a saying that Jazz used to say in her promo. She says, I'm bad. Like, she says something like she's a badass bitch and she's black. And she says, believe that. Or something like that. She's bad, she's black, and believe that. Or something like that. And also Theodore Long was in the corner of Jazz at this time. This was some alright stuff. Jazz, she became new women's champion here when she defeated Tori Wilson. Trish Stratus, even though Tori Wilson was on this card, but she was like in a brawl with Stacy Keibler during the show. I always been a big fan of Trish Stratus, but when she first won the title, people didn't really, she had to prove the doubters wrong. She's going to tarnish the title. She's not going to be very good. But, she really proved a lot of people wrong because she is really good in the ring. People at first, thought she was only eye candy. She wouldn't live up to the hype. She wouldn't be that good. But, she really, like I said, she proved so many people wrong here. But, yeah, Jazz won the title. It was about a roll-up, There was a lot of roll-ups going back and forth. I mean, there was this time they weren't really giving the women, they weren't really giving the women much time still. But like I said, good match. These two women had pretty decent chemistry in the ring, so I'll give them that. And then the next match we had was Big Show going up against Rey Mysterio. So we had type of a David versus Goliath type of match here. It was okay. I mean, these guys, had some really good chemistry together. And when you think wrestlers can be one night you could be wrestling a big tall guy like Big Show. Next night you could be wrestling a smaller guy like Rey Mysterio. So that's what I kind of enjoy about with professional wrestling. Not all they're not all one person's the same, so I really enjoy that. So we had, like I said, a David Goliath type of match here, and these, like I said, these two wrestlers, they had some pretty good, in-ring chemistry with each other, despite the sizes, and the storytelling that was more the main part that I really enjoyed out of their matches. But, Big Show, he was kind of struggling against Rey Mysterio a little bit. Rey Mysterio, he hit 3 619s in a row. And Taz said something on commentary. Hold on. So he did 3 619s in a row. So 3 6 1. Hold on. 619 times 3. So he had 1857. So I thought that was funny what Taz said on commentary. But when Rey Mysterio was going for a West Coast pop, Big Show caught him in a choke slam and then Big Show hit the choke slam. And when he went down for with the choke slam, when Rey Mysterio hit the mat, it looked like he hit his head pretty hard. It looked bad. So Big Show won the match. And then after the match, they were carrying Rey Mysterio on a stretcher, or on an orange board stretcher. And Big Show came back out, took the stretcher up while Rey Mysterio was still in it. and slammed him against a ring post, and that kind of got like a holy shit moment out of everybody. The fans there were like holy shit, like holy shit chant was going on. So I thought that was pretty cool. Despite this being a squash match, I like the kind of like the storytelling of this. The backstory with this. I thought it was decent. Would never think a squash match being good, but hey, it was entertaining here, I gotta say. And then the next match we have was the WWE Championship match. We have Brock Lesnar defending the title against John Cena. So at this time, we already know, John Cena was doing his whole rapping gimmick at this point. And this is when John Cena got his like first big break as as going for the big title here. Because there was points on SmackDown where John Cena was talking trash about Brock Lesnar, and it was some pretty good stuff on the microphone, like the enthusiasm, like with John Cena, what he was saying in his promos, were pretty good. I enjoyed them. I mean, Cena wasn't the greatest in the ring at this point, but like I said, the way he presented himself, the way he talked on the microphone, it made the rivalry more personal. Like how he was talking about, Brock Lesnar, saying, "We inmates, Brock, I run the asylum," or something like that. And it was there was one funny rap or bar he said, he was like, "You got a tattoo of your mother on your back." It was hilarious. So I like the rapping stuff that John Cena was doing at this point. I think a lot of people did. And of course here, when Cena came out, he was wearing a Yankees jersey because they were in Massachusetts. But he was referencing a lot of former WWE champions, like mentioning Bruno Sammartino. He was mentioning like Kurt Angle in this, like saying some pretty good bars. And like they weren't bad, saying that he's gonna have a chance, to win the title here tonight. But I thought the match was decent between Lesnar and Cena. I mean, like I said, Cena wasn't the greatest worker. A majority, when Cena was on offense, he was doing like a headlock, and even the fans were cheering, for Cena in that when he had Cena in that when he had Brock in the headlock. Because I think some people were kind of getting tired of Brock as a champion because they're like, oh yeah, he's been on top for so long. They want to see something fresh. So the Cena was getting cheered pretty good. And then Brock Lesnar, he was wearing like a band-aid like over his head because he got busted up like on SmackDown when Cena hit him with like the steel chain. But Brock Lesnar did the point of the match when Cena was actually trying to go for the steel chain again, hit the Brock Lesnar hit the F5, get the 1, 2, 3. So this proves some doubters wrong. That Cena, he could hang in the main event. And Taz and Michael Cole, they were very, very surprised when they were talking on commentary. So yeah, but like I said, decent match here. Nothing crazy. I mean, like I said, more the enthusiasm with John Cena was like really what made it. And also something that kind of took away from the feud was like with Cena winning the tournament. Like, oh, the only reason why Cena has this match is because he won a tournament. Because I mean, yeah, he did beat Eddie Guerrero in the first round, and he beat The Undertaker, and then he went on to beat Chris Benoit. So it kind of took away from the feud a little bit, but I feel like the feud was pretty personal, despite the tournament going on. But yeah, the next match we have here is a 6-man tag team match. We had Triple H, Ric Flair, and Chris Jericho going up against Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, and Booker T. So, the world title, Triple H was the world champion, because he beat Booker T at WrestleMania, which that was still a bad decision to this day. That's still a bad decision that Booker T should have won. It could have been a short title reign. It could have been for like a couple months, but I don't know. Booker T should have won the title at Mania 19. But no, I thought this was it wasn't a bad 6-man tag team match. Everybody was hitting their moves and stuff. So the whole storyline behind this match was Kevin Nash, came back from his injury, and Triple H was saying, "Hey, you come join me." He gave him an ultimatum: you come join me, or you can go join Shawn Michaels. And if you join Michaels, then you're making a bad decision. And, I liked the video package before this match here. I thought it was really good. During this time, I really enjoyed, these video packages and stuff. The theme songs that they were using for these pay-per-views. I don't know why they still don't use theme songs like this, because it was amazing. The theme songs during this time were awesome. Like I said, I thought this was a decent match here. We had the heels win this match. Triple H, Ric Flair, and Chris Jericho, that they won the match. And I don't really understand why Kevin Nash really took the pinfall here. Everybody was doing some pretty decent stuff, hitting their finishers, hitting sweet chin musics, hitting their, even Triple H hitting the pedigree, Ric Flair putting in some figure 4 leg locks. Everybody was hitting their stuff. But Triple H, towards the end of the match, he pulled out the sledgehammer, the golden shovel kind of here. Pulled out the sledgehammer and beat Kevin Nash. Which I don't think that was right to have the heels go over, because I feel like, since Booker T lost at WrestleMania, I feel like they could have had, Triple H take a loss here. And like I said, the title was online, which I understand why the title was online. Because, they didn't want to have the title taking a backseat to Goldberg and The Rock. Which makes sense. It makes a whole lot of sense. And then, of course, we had later on, I think at the next month, we had Triple H and Kevin Nash, them feuding over the world title. And so I thought this was, this 6-man tag team match made sense. This wasn't 6 random guys in the match, because we had Jericho and Michaels, they had their feud going on. And also Shawn Michaels, had to tie in with Triple H and stuff. So, this match made sense. And then we got the main event. We got Goldberg and The Rock. On paper, this seems like a great match, which it was a good match. But, I never really been the biggest fan of Goldberg. I pop for him and stuff, but I'm just not the biggest fan of him. And I feel like, why didn't they pull this trigger a few years ago in 2001? When WWE bought WCW. Because, we could have had matches, if people were clamoring so much to have Goldberg and Stone Cold, then why didn't they, do this a few years ago? It just didn't make a whole lot of sense. And of course, having The Rock here, him, during this time, we all knew what The Rock was going to do. He was going to come in, he was going to put over a guy, and then he was going to go back to, Hollywood and make movies again. So at this point, it's a good match, but they did, they did sell a lot of tickets for this show, and they did, sell this pay-per-view pretty good, because, two big stars here. And I don't know why they didn't really save this for a WrestleMania, because this is definitely a WrestleMania worthy match. But as regards to the match, I thought the match was pretty good. When Goldberg was doing his matches in WCW, his matches were a lot shorter than what. This match was 14 minutes here. So yeah, Goldberg's matches were quite a bit shorter. But at the end, Goldberg did end up winning this match here. They beat The Rock. And then of course, The Rock went back to Hollywood. Like no surprise, this was his last match for a while until Mania 20. But I thought it was good stuff going on here. Like I said, I just don't understand why they had to wait till like a couple years later down the road to bring in Goldberg. Maybe because the incentives at that time weren't right for Goldberg. He didn't want to. Maybe he wasn't getting paid enough money from Vince. But they could have, brought Goldberg in for like an early pay-per-view and then, paid it, made that money back off of the tickets they bought or like the pay-per-views that everybody bought. If they would have brought him in sooner, like we could have had like Goldberg and Stone Cold like at WrestleMania 18 or something like that. But yeah, that was my Backlash 2003 review. I definitely think, this is a pay-per-view, that's worthy of checking out. It's a fun pay-per-view to sit through. It's like, it's not definitely a chore to sit through. I'll tell you that right now. It's definitely worthy of watching. My favorite match of the night, if you had to go check out one, will have to be the opener. Good match. And it was cool seeing Brock and Cena go at it. I definitely like, with Brock and Cena, I like their 2012 Extreme Rules match a lot better. That's probably my favorite match between Brock and Cena. I did not like their SummerSlam match that they had that. And was it 14? Yeah, 2014. And the 6-man tag is alright. And the main event's alright. Here's this kind of odd and stuff. And, there were points where The Rock, he was getting cheered. And, like, Goldberg was getting booed sometimes. I don't know. It was just weird. But yeah, go follow me on all my social media platforms. If this is your first time ever checking out my channel, you can go follow me on Twitter at TheTrueJSB. You can follow me on Instagram, TheTrueJSB. And also go subscribe to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that's an instant classic. If I could talk right now. And also go subscribe to the oh man. Yeah. Go subscribe to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast. Go subscribe to the Gamers Podcast. I can't even think of their podcast right now off the top of my head now. Japers. This is how bad my memory is right now. The Average Gamers Podcast. There we go. My mind was blanking out there. Also, go over to Pro Wrestling Tees. Go pick up our Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast shirts. Go be supporting those. What else am I missing? Like I said, hit that subscribe button if it's the first time ever checking out my channel. And I'm going to be doing a few more of these Backlash reviews. My next one I'll be doing is 2004, which will probably be on Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. But this is your boy Juggernaut saying peace out, and I will talk to you guys in my